Good morning on this smoky and tragic Sunday with wildfires that Oregon is dealing with. But the good news is we have the lovely Anne Clare, who gave our Sunday service titled Your Spiritual Toolkit, or Spiritual Resilience.
Spiritual resilience.
Spiritual Resilience. Thank you.
Toolkit.
And Laleen, I think, wanted to go first.
I do indeed, because I have a whole bunch of feelings that need to come out really fast. The first one is I loved every minute of it. The second one is it was way too short. The third one is I want to hear more from you. So please do this again. It could even be a different topic, but I really want to hear more about this particular topic. And the last one is that was the greatest toolkit. I mean, just the idea of having each one of those items to draw on anytime, anywhere. I could have used them so many times as I look back in my life, so I am sure I will use them in the future. Thank you. And I was bursting, so I had to say it all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I have to say the energy in the room, even though there was only a couple of us, listening to your service, it was a palpably good message, for everything that we're dealing with right now. The one part that kind of stood out, the one thing I wanted to kind of bring up and discuss was you were talking about playing games with children, and about letting them win. And that reminded me of a Jordan Peterson lecture. He was talking about rat experiments. And if you pin young rats together, a little rat with a bigger rat, they will wrestle, they'll play. And the bigger rat will always pin the little rat, except for about 30% of the time. The bigger rat will let the little rat win in order for the little rat to reinitiate play. And what that says, according to the science, is that the circuit for play is so hardwired into the mammalian experience that, that it is the primary method for education.
Yep.
And yeah, yep. So I just thought that was super cool.
Thank you.
To bring up, yeah. Who wants to go next? Oh, Laura Lee. There we go. I've asked you to unmute.
According to this last comments that were made, is that why your brothers always gave in to you?
I have two older brothers that were very accommodating. Yes.
But anyway, I wanted to tell Anne how much I appreciated her talk also.
Oh, thank you.
It was very, very nice, very educational, very enlightening. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Michael, I bet they didn't let you win more than 30% of the time, right?
No, actually, yeah, it was, believe it or not, it was probably more like 80% of the time, which was which was not so good, because it gave me a very false sense of how strong I actually was. So on the playground, it did not turn out as well as it did at home. So some lessons are learned hard.
Yeah, you need balance.
That's right.
Balance.
Yeah.
But you want them to play again. That's the whole thing. That's another line in my book, when I was playing with father and son, and both got very frustrated, and son ended up walking out. Yep. And I said that to father. I said, I don't win when I have the most points. And he kind of looked at me and I said, I win when he's willing to play another game. Yep. I just won. And it was like, just whoa, that's.
And it's an encouragement factor, it's like,
absolutely.
You let them win when they push themselves just a little further,
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't give up. You can do it. That's right. God, those words. Come on, you can do it. Actually, down here, I had to laugh last. These days, it kind of anywhere you can come up with a laugh. but I went down to my car at the Holiday Inn parking lot here in Roseburg to retrieve, I don't remember, but there were a few other people out in the Holiday Inn parking lot getting into their cars to retrieve something, because there are like 50 families of evacuees staying here. And as I walked by all these cars that are stacked with people's belongings, and two of them on each side of me, people were going through, and I thought, there's going to be a mantra out here tonight, and it's going to go like this: I know it's in here somewhere. I know it's in here somewhere. I know it's in here somewhere.
Great
You
example.
got to take the humor where you can get it in these situations, you know.
It's true. Connie wanted to say something.
Okay.
Well, I would like all of us to maybe make a comment on right at the beginning of your talk, where you were talking about believing, and you used the phrase, movement will take you forward. So I think that would be a really good thing for each of us to say maybe what that meant to them when they heard that. Like, how did you translate that into your own thoughts or your own way of acting? So I'm interested in knowing what people thought about that phrase.
I think that's a great idea. Looks like JC has a comment.
My voice is still, as you can hear, filled with tears because you walked right into my life and explained so much. And it isn't new. I've already read the book. I already know about the whole thing. But so I started to write down the talk I have to have with my daughter that is about me and where I am in the relationship that we have, and that and I've not been able to do it until now, but somewhere I got the sense of I'm not all wrong or all right. There is in me that which didn't get it, but I still have a loving heart. I don't want to have hurt her. So my apology is not that anything was wrong. It was that I didn't want to hurt her. And that part I am very sad about. And yet she is the only one who can do anything about that. She can, so anyway, what I'm saying is, Connie, my move is on the back of my notes that Anne said. And it starts out, my loving heart is what I value most about how I am living. And that makes the rest of it flow. So I thank you so much.
I'd like to just say a little bit.
Yeah, Anne, do
Just have a comment.
yeah, sure. I hear you, Connie. I just wanted to give Anne a chance to.
Yeah.
Do you want to respond to any of that, Anne, real quick, or?
There's a whole another sermon there.
Yeah.
But that movement, anything that will take us one place forward, which is a different place than we were. It breaks who we were, what we were, when we were, and it can happen in a single breath if it's done with intention. And the idea of movement really came, and this is where the next sermon will be, is my watching both my mother in her early 40s and my daughter at the age of 25 were told they were going to die, and then told they would never walk again, and they're both alive and walking now. And when asked how that happened, the question posed to each of them, probably 40 years apart, grandmother and granddaughter gave me the exact same answer. And I will share that with you in a sermon and another chapter in another book.
Mm.
Something to look forward to.
But you know what? It's exactly, if you go back and listen to this tape, it's probably, it's in the first sentence or two that JC just said.
Okay.
It was the action. She said, you walked right into my heart. And that really is the secret. You put one stinking foot in front of the other. That's how you walk.
Right.
So there's the secret.
Yeah. Go ahead, Connie.
Well, Jackie did exactly what I was hoping, is to have us say what that sentence meant to us. And to me, when I heard it immediately, I thought of my granddaughters. Immediately. And it was like it gave me a tool to, when I'm talking to them, to help them see what their movement forward might be. You know, instead of more of a preachy talk to them, talking with them about, you know, using that exact phrase, like, oh, I heard this in a talk, you know, what would that mean to you? How would you move forward? I just love it. I love the idea of it.
The other words you might include in a discussion with granddaughters is, and where do you choose to pivot? Because your beliefs will cause you to pivot when they run up against your friends who make different choices based on their values and beliefs. Do you want to pivot, or do you want to continue one foot in front of the other in that same direction? Those are really tough questions, but you know what? They can ponder those at that age.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Laleen, maybe you want to.
In response to the topic that Connie suggested, I found that the movement from where you opened up talking about despair and where I went with that took me immediately to the jump of toolkit item number 8. And of course, there was a journey through everything, but what I wrote down was, when you first open, never lose hope of change and never go to helpless. And I realized that I'd lived most of my life that way. And then when you gave us number 8, which was the power drill, finding a piece of hope and describing your worst night, immediately I went to the 2 worst nights of my life. And I realized at some point in those worst nights, the depression, the helplessness, whatever I experienced, just like cleared, like swimming and, you know, underwater and movement forward. And then I felt this incredible high, you know, elated because I no longer was in that pit. And so when I jumped from the opening of your talk all the way to number 8, and that's what got me so excited and wanting to go first today, because I realized that every one of those steps were so significant, but not significant enough in terms of a roadmap until I got to a point where I realized, yes, I have survived the worst nights of my life and come out in a much better place. So I realized there are times when I could just jump from feeling helpless to, hey, what's the worst you ever felt and what happened after? And sometimes I don't need to go through it all. And yet if I do need to do more, you've just laid it all out. So it was like just a full, complete journey for me, and I love it. That toolkit item number 8, which was our power drill, was that last one and not the first one, because I wouldn't have been ready for it if it had been the first or the second. So
Oh,
again,
yeah.
thank you for those skills.
Yeah. Good. Thank you, Lilene.
Well, there's a few people that we haven't heard from. Also, we've been joined by Sharon. So welcome, Sharon. It's good to see you. Joanne, do you feel like answering the question or the interpretation of movement will take you forward?
For myself, the word movement always means the same for me. When I have great problems, I want to be stuck. I don't want to move. As a matter of fact, I sometimes like to wallow in my own pity, but I've gotten over that most days. But it feels good once in a while. So movement to me means, are you ready to take the first step? Because if I'm not ready, just forget the whole thing. And so I work on that a lot, actually. Do I want to move or don't I want to move? So in regards to what you have said, Anne, also for me, if I'm going to move, in your talk, the toolkit, the thing that impressed me the most was state what you're saying and the last part, then close that box and move on. Move on for positive change. And that isn't easy, but the more I do something like that, the easier it becomes when something else in my life creates a problem. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well put. Glennis, I believe, has something. I unmuted you. Oh, you remuted yourself.
I want to kind of bounce off a little bit from what Joanne was saying, because it was occurring to me at the time too that one of my biggest obstacles in moving forward is inertia, and how to overcome that inertia. I need the toolbox for that, and I need to add a couple of things of my own as well, just to make that not my thing. I can move forward. The point of power is right now. This is something I've known for a long time. So if you're going to make a change, if you don't like the way things are, you have right now to change that. And if you missed it, okay, right now, it's perpetual. So thank you for actually kind of putting it into for me. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I love the idea that right now is also now. And now, oh, there it goes. I said that to somebody once about, we're right now. Well, no, we're not. Whoa, there we are. But it is. Time is transient, but we have that ability to stay stuck in what we are and where we are. And it doesn't take much to just switch that thought. And that's why the power is in the present moment, because nobody gets to determine what goes on in here but us. We can choose to say, okay, I'm going to stop the pity party and go on to jump rope, or I'm going to stop the pity party and know I can reschedule another one. Joanne, it's not a one-time deal. I've had a few of them in the last few weeks, and I would imagine some of the people around me are going to need to have several of them, because some of the worst things don't cure themselves overnight, or we don't find ourselves in a space where we can accept them overnight. And certainly I can imagine personal grief over a personal loss would be one of those. You need several pity parties, but again, let yourself know that there's an end point for this one. I can come back to this chapel and visit this grief, and I will hold it in a sacred place, and I'm not going to live there right now. And there's the rest, but yeah, don't think that invitation is a one-time thing. Yeah. That's why it was like number 2. Can pull that out. I think I need another one. That's okay, because again, if it'll help you get unstuck, from, you know, if what you're stuck in is that feeling of, oh my God, and how awful, or poor me, or whatever it is, or God damn it, here we are again, whatever that is, I can't take this again, and why, whatever that is, taking one step out of it, using whatever means you have, you're in a different space than you were when you began. And that's what we want to have.
Yeah, one of the quotes that you chose for this service was an Albert Camus.
I love
Yeah, yeah. And one of the great works of Camus was his essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, where, you know, he talks about Sisyphus as being this tragic hero. And basically the thrust of the essay says that no matter what situation you're in, like Oedipus at the end of Oedipus Rex, you know, his eyes are gouged out, Sisyphus is trapped, you know, to roll this boulder forever up a hill and to watch it roll down, that he could look at his existence and say, all is well, or all is as it should be, because that is your choice. You know, at the end of the day, you have a choice to say, you know, you can break my body, you can break my reality, you can impoverish me, but you can't break me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there are several quotes that I was looking at, and I chose that one for some, I think just because of those words, pushback.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I don't think pushing back means fighting.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes your diaphragm has to push down when you breathe. You know, it's that kind of thing, that it's where you need to be, and keeping your space, you know, just from all of it. I have found, especially now that I am being housed with several families who are suffering far greater than I am right now, to keep a bell around me. Yeah. Because I will certainly suck up all of their anguish if I don't. Yeah. And I know that's a weakness of mine, so I'll have to be very aware of that, that I don't take on enough that it's affecting me.
Well, remember, your greatest weakness is also your greatest strength.
So. Yeah.
We we haven't heard from Kim yet. Hey, Kim.
Hey. Yeah, I've had to walk a different path for over 3 years now, since having to move from Kansas to Oregon. And I remember that fateful night sitting in the alone room at the hospital thinking, holy cow, now what do I do? Because the doctor gave me he gave me 2 choices and neither one of them was good.
Yeah.
My husband passed away the next day, and that led me to the road of coming to move to Oregon with my family. And so I've been walking, packing, driving, trying to keep walking. I made a promise to myself as I was standing by the piano that me and my husband always played a lot of them, had piano lessons on it. That I was going to really learn how to play the piano, so I'm kind of walking the keyboard with my fingers, and I've been trying that ever since. That's why I practice so much. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's hard. I cry a lot sometimes, but here I am.
Yeah. I took a class once, Kim, and the teacher, it was on transitions, and the first thing the minister said on the first class was that because each of us were going through a major transition like you started, and she said that event is the beginning. You know, every ending has a beginning, and that's the beginning, and then what follows is chaos. And for each of us, that, who, you know, depending on everything, how long that might last before you realize there's a new beginning. So, you know, I'm really sorry that this is those transitions are hard. So if there was anything I said that might have helped you, I hope so.
Sorry, Kim, I had you muted, but I could read the lips of yes. So.
Oh, good, good.
Martha, can you interject?
Wait, Martha's been so quiet because you had her muted?
Well, I have everybody muted. Oh, there you go.
Well, listening to all this and, talking with Anne over time, I have just been totally enamored by this whole process and realizing how over time, many of us have done something similar, but not having the labels that she has so neatly put together. My big change happened in my 40s when I made a list of what was it that I wanted. And I had never even thought of that. I just kept, as a young person, kept pushing ahead, plowing ahead, school, all of that kind of stuff, and not really thinking, what was it that I wanted? I got married, I had kids. Yeah. So that was the beginning. But what I felt I learned from that is when we met Diane, and many of you know our dear Diane granddaughter, like Connie has mentioned, how do you talk to grandchildren? And I wish I had the toolkit concept for what my talks with Diane, but we've done over time much of that. And I've watched her, and many of you have known her since she first came, which we've known her, she was 14, and now at 27 on her own, working for the state of California, graduate of UC Davis. It's pretty, but we talked about grief, we talked about gratitude, we talked about letting go. I mean, the whole 9 yards, but just not in the box concept. And I love the box concept. Thank you so much. It was not only very meaningful, but it was fun and with humor, and it's in the visual and the bloomers, of course, will stick with me forever. I'll have
I'm
to
going
go
to give
find
you
some.
a private showing. I will give you a private showing.
Anyway, so thank you so much for that, and I really appreciate our talks that we've had separately too. So thank you.
The bloomers might help with church contributions.
I can put on the whole thing. I've got the sleeping suit that goes with it, right, and the boots and the knee-high socks. I could do the whole thing.
Let's see, Lois, I don't think we've heard from you yet. Let's see, I've asked you to unmute. So, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
You got it.
Actually, I am looking forward to listening to your sermon. I have not listened to it yet, and I like this discussion because it shows me what I can hone in on. I feel as though I have not really applied my life. When I listen to all of your comments, life has been a lot of ups and downs, same as everybody else.
Yep.
But I have not intentionally been seeking to improve my spiritual aspect the way other people have done. And I feel as though I've been very negligent in that. So I really don't have a whole lot to contribute, except I do know that without movement, you can't progress.
Yeah.
You have to put things to use. And I need to do more of that. So thank you, Anne.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I will apply your sermon to my life.
Thank you.
So.
Yeah. Sharon.
Well, I really appreciate, oops, am I unmuted?
You are loud and clear.
Okay. I really appreciate the idea of the toolkit. I have skills in my toolkit too, but they differ from what you presented. And I liked several of your ideas, especially the invitation to the pity party, which I do without invitation, but it's okay. I have gone from a pouch to a basket, and every time I take a trip, I try to figure out how to condense it. So it's gone to a list. but
That's good.
but then when I
Yeah.
come back, it's still, I need the visuals.
Yes. Yeah, it's
Oh,
real. It's
at,
real.
at the current moment, one variation is in a circular basket, and I set it up like an altar,
Hmm.
and there are reminders in there. So I liked your ideas, and I am going to listen again
Cool. Thank you.
to make a list, because this
Cool.
time when I listened, I was eating. Thank you
Yeah.
very much, Anne.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Julianne, can you give us something to chew on?
The recognition that the wisdom that Anne has given us comes awfully late in life for a lot of us. We could have used it a long time ago. However, we probably wouldn't have recognized it. The other point that I'd like to make is that the step forward, which is under your control, is not a step that is taken by very many people. Most people, I think, sit in stasis or indeed take a step backwards,
Hmm.
and they're lost, and there's utterly no recognition that anything in life or their view of life or circumstances is under their control. And that's unfortunate. The toolkit concept is fun. I like the hacksaws and the
Yeah. It's fun to kind of help to remember it, but that idea of moving forward, and you're right, a lot of people won't take the step either because they're afraid or they're held back by their beliefs or their family's beliefs or whatever the fear, whatever that fear is, and yet they're being pushed by the hunger. So where are they going to go? And they will not be at peace until they do one or another, relinquish my need to move forward, or relinquish my need to hold on beliefs that no longer serve me, and I just frankly don't even believe anymore.
Yeah.
So that is hard. That's that pivot. It's okay to pivot. When any of my children's friends were going off to college, I never said this in front of their mothers because I knew they'd get really mad at me. But I took them each off one at a time on just before they graduated and said, it's okay if you change your mind. What you think you want to do now might not be what you think you want to do in a year or two. And you might think it's not okay to change your mind. It's okay to change your mind.
Yeah.
And still at our age, it's okay to change your mind. I'm still changing my mind, still pivoting, but got to move forward. You know, there has never been a change in my life, certainly not a change for the better, without me taking a step. And it just doesn't matter how scary it is. You know, nothing to me could have been more scary than my mother. If I had been my mother laying in my back, looking at that back brace, knowing there are 6 children under the age of 12 on the other side of the door, and I can't get to them until I stand up and put that back brace on and stand in that walker. And she fucking did it. Sorry. But, you know, and every day the doctor would come over and change the bandages on her burns, but she would get up and walk again, you know. So that's how you do it. You put one foot in front of the other, no matter what it takes. And I watched people who gave a lot to take that first step. So I'm very lucky that I've seen what you get back if you're willing to take one step. And maybe that's where I get the fierceness to go ahead and try, because I've seen people in the furthest ends come all the way back with the first step.
Yeah. Well, we've been joined by Donna, but I wanted to take a stab at the question, you know, or the comment of movement will take you forward. You know, I know that in my life I cannot be at peace unless I am unless I am physically as healthy as I want to be, you know. And so running is a great joy for me. And in trying to get back in shape, one thing that you'll notice is that your heart will just want to explode if you're not used to running, you know. and and it dawned on me when I was running and just out of breath and just dying, that you can slow your pace. You're allowed to slow your pace. If you're running at say 5 miles an hour instead of 7, you're still moving forward. Yeah. And
Yes.
and I took a great lesson from that. And when Connie brought that up, that's the first thing that I thought of, is that even if you're moving slowly, you're still moving forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And a little step in one circumstance may be a big thing. A little step in another circumstance may be a very little step. And recognizing, no, but it's a step from where I was, is the magic part.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It is. It's that.
You know, sometimes when I'm on a long trip and I'm getting frustrated, you know, when you've been in the car for 3 or 4 or 6 hours, and I start thinking about not how far I have, because you start measuring by the signs, 212 miles, 198 miles. I start thinking about how far have I come?
Yeah.
Where was I an hour ago? Wow, look how far I've come. And that makes it a lot easier to accept that I still have 3 hours on the road.
That is a great idea. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Look where I've come from.
Yeah. Donna, you've joined us. I have to believe you have something to say.
You know me so well, Michael.
Hey.
Yes, I was giving the talk at Unity this morning, so this is the quickest I could get here. But yeah, I do want to say one thing. I really enjoyed your talk, and you are so strong, so courageous, and I just admire that in you so much. And I also admire that you're willing to share that, because we all need to be jostled a little bit sometimes to realize that we are, and that gives us that momentum to continue. One thing that in your talk, you said, you know, that you put the things that you want, and then you just don't look at it for a while. And I did that one time, and you've encouraged me to find that and see how far I've come. So now I've got to find it. It has to be in one of my journals, I know. So I'm going to look for that. And I'm very excited to see what I did, what I wrote, and where I am now with that. So that was very encouraging.
Good.
And then what we were just talking about, the Course in Miracles teaches there, you know, there's no degree to miracles, okay? So whatever step you take, be it what you might consider is a small step or a big step or whatever, it is a step, it is a miracle. It doesn't matter, you know, how long it takes you. It really doesn't, because the fact that you took that step is the miracle, and that you are willing to take the step to evolve into, you know, a healthier, happier human being and spiritual being. So I just wanted to share that, because that came up, and so I could go on, so I'm going to back off now. Thank you.
Yeah. I think recognizing the opportunity for change is a big part too, instead of not necessarily everything is a crisis, you know, but looking at where can I take it. In the book, it's not called spiritual resilience, it's called strategic resilience. And I just changed the title for the sermon, but the idea of strategic resilience being looking beyond today, when you really are using these tools at a time when you don't know where the next step might take you, to set out where you might want to be taken. So there's that piece of it. Just, you know, you can't hit a bullseye if you don't have a target.
Right. Well, and I one thing that I wanted to also talk about with your toolbox, you know, in visiting the darkest night of your life, or the 2 or 3, where do you think that courage comes from to be able to do that?
That whole idea came when, in that time, actually, shortly before I moved in with my friends, and where did I get the courage? Wow, you're gonna have to read the book, Michael.
Okay. I guess so. Yeah.
It's almost down there in the roots. It's in the bottom 3 feet of the trunk. That's where I get it. Not from the roots, but that comes from the bottom 3 feet of the trunk. It's and maybe, Michael, it comes from actually the pain. The impetus would be to not suffer the pain that I've suffered when I have failed to take the step. When the fear of taking the step is out measured by the pain of not taking any step, it's real easy.
Yeah.
It's real easy. It's a take anywhere. You know, I didn't know these people. Can you pass a background check? Come and see my house tomorrow. Shit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know, but I had to take a step. And who knew? You know, I have a new family. I have best friends. I have a grandson I didn't have before. But if I hadn't really taken that very scary step of putting out to even strangers, I need some help, you know? So maybe desperation, but also I think really, Michael, it came from knowing that nothing happens if I don't do something. Nothing comes from nothing.
Yep.
So any change is a change.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. JC.
One thing that I want is that poem you begin your day with.
Yes.
That ends with, "And waste my heart on fear no more." Eventually you begin to realize that the fear is what you're avoiding. And there's only one answer to that fear. Nobody else, it's my fear, it's your fear. Only that person can deal with it. And once you do that, the next time you're a little sooner to catch it. And then eventually you realize having the courage comes from having done it once and you didn't die.
And
in
you
fact,
didn't
nobody
die.
died. And you went on and things changed.
There's a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, and that is the
Yes,
thesis.
I have that.
Yes, that the ultimate fear is you would die. Well, this isn't going to kill you, and as soon as you recognize that, it's not as bad as you thought.
Yeah, right.
Laleen.
I never know what JC's going to say, but it's always so interesting how it often leads to what I'm thinking. As I was going through step 1 to 8, as I mentioned earlier, I realized that the darkest nights of my life, the worst experiences, are no different than a death. I mean, an actual physical death of someone you love. I mean, a major loss is a loss, and worst nights of one's life usually involve, you know, depression and immobilization and, you know, feeling stuck and not knowing what to do next and not all of that. And so when I got to step 8, you know, where you said go back to, and immediately the 2 biggest of my life came forward, I realized that without knowing it, I have been doing since those 2 nights, one of them, which was a very long time ago. Actually, they were both a number of years ago, but I realized that I lost my sister when I was 11 years old and she was 9. And in that process, I stood apart from all of my family about how I experienced her death. Because for me, she had come to me in her journeying process and told me that she had died, and that it was okay. She didn't hurt. She was in a better place, and she loved me, and she would always be with me. And so when my mom and everyone came home from the hospital, and it was, middle of the night, 2 or 3 o'clock, and the first thing I did when they opened the door was sit up in bed and say, Judy was dead. The experience of that at such an early age, without me knowing it, when I determined I wasn't going to the funeral because I'd already said goodbye to her, gave me that first tool I needed in my toolkit, which I didn't have that language for. That was not one of the worst nights of my life by any means. In fact, if anything, it was a powerful, exhilarating, even though I lost my sister, discovery of my own inner, I guess, spirituality. I certainly didn't have that language at age 11. And the beauty for me, though, is, and this is getting to the subject that we were just on, is that having that toolkit, I think, has kept me from ever being as immobilized as I was at the time of those 2 events. And so I don't lose hope. And I think I've said that to friends before, that no matter how bad things are, or how low I feel, or how bleak something looks, or how impossible the task, or how deep in my own stuff, I might be dropping or exploring or wallowing, could be any of those, I don't lose hope. And it seems to me when we talk about grandkids, or we talk about, ourselves, or whatever it is, somehow we have to find that journey into hope, into believing that whatever it is, this, will get better. So that was what was on my mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The idea of hope and not giving up hope is key in my life, in that my faith was very easy to lose, but never hope. And I put a lot of thought into it in the last 10 years. Why is that? And I've realized that for me, and I know it's not the same for everybody, but for me, faith requires an other, faith in something or in someone, where hope is all up to me. Faith in something's going to turn out okay. No, it's not going to be okay. It's going to be what it is. I hope I can handle it. I actually do have faith I can handle it, because I got my handy dandy toolkit. But the idea of faith has come to mean, for me, something different, and hope I can hold on to. And that's the Pollyanna is and what I believe in. And I know that's there's a few more sermons in there. Yes.
One thing, just in response to that, and this is not one of the 2 things in my toolkit, but when I was in my early 40s, I was diagnosed with lupus, which is what my sister had died of. And my first reaction was to immediately fall not only into the pity pot, but to recall her journey, of such severe illness when they had no treatments. And at that point, I already had hope, even though I was really stuck back in my childhood of, if you have lupus, you will die, because my sister died of lupus.
Right.
And at the time, I was working with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, And I remember, you know, being sometimes in a wheelchair and having her maybe come up to the front of the room of 100 people and tell my worst theme, my absolute worst theme. And in the telling of it, in the sharing of it, in finding an other to tell my worst thing, and believe me, I did not tell it to 100 people, though I did. I told it to her. It was just in the sharing of that that I realized there's another thing I say to myself, which has been down so long, it looks like up to me, you can't go any deeper, you know, which was the title of a book. The book isn't anything, but the title is great. So I realized in that moment, you know, that I wasn't down there. I wasn't as suicidal as I thought I might be. It wasn't the end of my life. And again, coming forward, you know, was that hope. So I guess what I'm really trying to say is that, you know, we can go really deep and we can really despair. But if one can really find your own journey to belief and hope that this will change, or it's changed before, it will change again, or it isn't what it was, then I think we go on and live our lives in a more enhanced and actually a stronger place than we did before we had that experience, whatever the experience was. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, I agree.
Donna wanted to say something.
Yes, Anne, I just wanted to share my perspective on faith.
Yes.
And what I see from myself looking at you is you have great faith in yourself.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned that faith means in
that's
something
the one
else.
thing.
But you have the faith where it's the strongest and the most needed. You know, you have faith in yourself. And I see that very clearly. And so I just wanted to comment on that. I think the most powerful faith is faith in yourself.
Right. And thank you, Donna.
Yeah. And yes, and you display that so, what's the word, just so brilliantly. With, you know, going through what you go through and have gone through. But, you know, you've created greater and greater. You have made those steps because you have faith in you. So I just wanted to share, because that's what I see in you.
Right.
And,
well, and that was at the very beginning of the sermon too. That was in the first thing in the toolbox is your sledgehammer. What do you believe, or who do you believe in? and that's the one thing I have faith in and trust in is my own beliefs. They've been honed through a lot. And I know I believe in something. I know it's not what everybody else believes in, and that doesn't matter. I know there's a deep belief in hope is acceptable.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes.
Hope is an acceptable emotion.
Yeah. Hope is the one that leads us into the knowing. Yes. I just wanted to quickly share an experience I had because when you know, I think I've all shared with you, I was on drugs and I got to the point where my husband and I had to split up, and I went to a place of my own. And it was in that, you know, giving up the drugs and all of that change. And one night in my new place, I experienced terror greater than, I mean, I've never experienced terror that way. And nothing had happened. I was just terrified. I was up all night terrified, and I couldn't put my hand on it. And then I finally fell asleep, and I had the dream. Have you ever had the dream where you're falling, but you wake up just before you hit? I had that dream, and I hit the ground and I died in my dream. And when I woke up, it was kind of scary to you know, and I thought, whoa, I am alive, you know, because I had always been told that you would die in this dream if that's what happened. What I realized was I just died to my old self. And then I'm now, you know, a new person, that I am strong, and that changed everything for me, because then I went forth with faith in me. And, you know, I don't know about my toolboxes. I'm sure I had a lot of tools that I probably, you know, I know I used them and everything, but I couldn't identify them like you have. And I think identifying them is very helpful, because that will, help us focus on those kind of things. So,
Good.
but I just thought that was interesting how sometimes we are directed and guided into our strength and courage by some funny ways, and some of them could be hard, but yeah. So anyway, I see you as faith in yourself very strongly.
Yeah. Well, I shared with Joanne yesterday Friday before we taped that I arrived here in Roseburg, and geez, you know what it's like. And I started crying thinking, who do I think I am to stand up and speak about resilience in this, And then immediately it was almost like a cosmic smack, by an 8-armed goddess who comes in. Hey, somebody will take something from what you're saying, and you're here, you drove down here because you were meant to drive down here and do this. So, yeah, but resilience is a tough thing, and seeing others in such need is a stark reminder of how much I have to be grateful for, including all of you. Thank you.
Well, I'm sure I speak for everybody when I say we feel the same way. It looks like we're winding down. Yeah. So maybe
Joanne left.
yeah. But Anne Clare, you've said a lot of great things during this conversation. Can you close us out with one more?
Can I close you out with one more?
Yeah.
Yes. I know that every breath that I am taking these days is a breath I share with all of you, with everybody in my community, and in fact, with everybody in the world. And I will remain very vigilant about breathing easy for the next few days. And my prayer for all of you is that you are both willing and able to do the same for yourselves. Breathe easily.
Well, you did not disappoint. So, all right. Well, thank you for a wonderful conversation, and thank
you, Michael.
To all of the participants. We will see you hopefully next Sunday. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Thank you.